Hi there, everybody. I'm here to give you the bonus video that I promised that I would give you, and it's for this page right here on the left-hand side. It's these drippy flowers, I guess is what I'm going to call them. And so let's just jump right in. I journaled because we're talking about flowers in spring this weekend. For our spring recess, I chose a passage in Isaiah 58 that talks about being like a well-watered garden, or like a watered garden, like a spring of water whose waters do not fail. And that's in verse 11, 10 and 11. In Isaiah 58. If you pour yourself out for the hungry and satisfy the desire of the afflicted, then shall your light rise in the darkness and your gloom be as the noonday. And the Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your desire in scorched places and make your bones strong. And you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water whose waters do not fail. And your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations. You shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to dwell in. This is one of my favorite passages. And talking, and even up here further, I encourage you definitely to go ahead and read the whole chapter, because that's important when we're Bible journaling. I encourage you to read in context, but for the purposes of this video, I'll just focus on there. And talking about fasting and what we might consider a fast and what God actually considers fasting are actually two different things. And so read that. I encourage you to read that. I'm gonna, this is the page that I'm gonna work on. I'm going to actually be showing it to you in my Psalter, my journaling Psalter that has a whole blank page over here. And let me see, I'm going to move this actually because I need to turn it upside down. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. So I'm sticking a piece of paper behind here, and I don't always do that, but I'm going to do that for the purposes of this video, just to tape this down so that this, and it's just a piece of transparency. You could use a piece of printer paper, whatever you have to protect your page. And I'm not gonna do this one yet. Well, maybe I will actually. So I'm gonna stick this here because I am gonna make my drips go over here. Okay. In your package that I sent you, you had one of these plastic pipettes, and you're going to need that for this technique, and also your little pan of watercolors. You could use any watercolors. I didn't know what kind of watercolors you had on hand, and I wanted to make it as easy as possible for you to accomplish the sessions that we're going to be working on for spring recess this weekend. So that's why I gave you the watercolor. You can use your own, it's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and use this, and I'm going to I have a container of water here, and I'm going to take and put some water in my pipette, and I need very runny watercolors. So I'm going to put water in. There's only 2 colors of green in your little plastic palette. You could actually use 2 or 3 colors of green. 3 would be really good. But there's only 2 in your palette that I gave you. I'm gonna get my brush wet. And then I'm gonna stir it around. It's probably a little bit too much water, but oh well, that's all right. just need a pretty good puddle of water. Stir it around to get that pigment activated. Okay. Now, I don't need the brush anymore, so I'm going to lay that aside and put my palette down. And now I'm going to turn my Bible page upside down. And I need to have it in a vertical position, not completely up and down, but at least a little bit so that you can get your, so that you can get your paint to run down the page. Okay. Okay. You need your pipette, your plastic pipette, and you're gonna take one of your colors. It doesn't really matter which one you do first. And if you'll just watch me, it's real easy. I'm just gonna put some of the paint in my pipette. Actually soaked up almost that whole puddle of water that I had. I'm not gonna do it too far over, maybe just over into here. I don't wanna do this whole page, but I'm gonna start over here. And you're gonna start at the top of the page. I'm gonna hold it down because I don't want it going behind the page. So I'm gonna come and I'm just gonna start at the top and let it run down. My flower stems are gonna go all wonky. Okay, I'm going to get my second color. I'm going to hold it up just a little bit further. Okay, I'm going to help it out down there. Now before I lay my Bible down, I'm going to clean up this puddle and wipe this off. There's one little drop that hasn't moved. Okay, dab that just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to lay it back down. There we go. That's the first step. Okay, I'm going to take the paper or the plastic out from behind it so that I can dry it without having that there. And I will mute this before I play it for you. Hopefully you won't have to hear it. Okay, now I'm going to turn it right side up. And there we go. I got some interesting flower stems there. Okay, I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to use another piece of scrap paper. Wipe this off again. And I'm just using the Happy Mail packing list. I accidentally printed too many. I didn't need them all. You'll see in my page here that I did 5 flowers, and that's because odd numbers are better. We've talked about that. So I need to make, for each flower, I need to make 3 different color circles, and you can see that they're not, they're oddly shaped. They're not perfect circles. That's what I'm looking for. I didn't want perfect circles, although if you want to do perfect circles, it's your Bible page. And also, you also need to just loosely paint several different colors of leaves, and I just used the same color of paint that I did for my drips as well. Now, one thing that I didn't do on in my Salter when I just showed you the dripping technique is I did, on this page, I masked this off with painter's tape. And so if you're working right in your Bible, you might want to consider doing that, of course, before you do the watercolor, the paint drips. Okay, I'm going to lay this aside again. Remember 3 spots, circles, 3 different colors for each flower, and you're going to want to do an odd number. I initially started out thinking that I was going to do 3, and then I decided to add 2 more over, excuse me, on this side. And then I just did a bunch of leaves and used however many until I was pleased with the way it looked. Okay, so get my paint palette back out here, and let me see here. I think this is purple. Okay. I don't need a lot of water. I'm just painting circles on my scrap paper here that I will then eventually cut out. So I want all my flowers to be the same color. You wouldn't have to do that, but that's how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to paint my large circles first. So there's 1. And I think for this, well, maybe I'll start with 5 and see what happens. I'm not sure how many I'm going to need. There's 3. I probably will cut them smaller than I'm painting them, so. 1 more. 5. Okay, there are 5 circles. Just clean my brush off so I don't get purple in my next color. The next color I'm going to use is this rosy color here. I think the color is rose, I think. I'm not sure. Okay. Now I'm going to make 5 more, just a little bit smaller circles. Okay. And I will You can see the things that I'm using are very simple, just a paintbrush, my watercolor paint, a jar of water, paper towel, of course my journaling Bible, watercolors, and a piece of paper for painting your flowers on. But I will put a list on the video of the things that you need to do this page, the resources that you need. Okay, I'm going to make yellow centers. Just need 5 smaller circles. Okay. Leave this aside, I'll clean it out a little better later. Now I'm going to dry my spots. Alright, now I need my scissors, and I'm just going to cut all of the spots out. I think I'm going to cut them apart just a little bit, so I don't have this big chunk of paper to have to work with. Alright. Okay, I have all my circles cut out. And then I'm just going to start stacking the circles on top of each other. So these are my the bottom part of my flower. So just going to turn all of these over and put glue on them. You could use any glue. I'm just using this Tombow glue for tonight. And I'm not really aiming to put them right in the center. I think it's far more interesting. If they're a little bit off center. So I'm gonna just try to do it different for each one. Okay. And now turning all of these over. Glue. And if you have little tweezers, they really help when you're doing things like this. I just like to use the tweezers. So again, I'm not aiming for the very center. I'm just sticking it on there the way I think it looks good, and each one will just probably turn out differently. And because all of them are different sizes too, I'm just going to look and see where they might look, the size might fit the best. Of course, you don't have to have tweezers, but they really help. This is one of my favorite Bible journaling tools, are these little tweezers. They're jewelry tweezers, pretty sure, or they could be used for lots of things, I guess. Okay, there are 5 flowers. This one has a little jaggedy edge, so I think I'm going to cut that off just to smooth it out. Okay. Alright, oops. I'm going to set that aside, move my flowers aside, bring my Bible back over, and now I'm just going to arrange my little circles here on my page. And I'm just going to put them sort of where a stem would be coming out the middle. Oh, you know what? I didn't. So there are my flowers on there, and I realized I forgot to paint my leaves. So let me see how many leaves. I might do 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 8 leaves. So I need to bring my scrap paper back over here. There's my, oops, I lost a little piece of paint. Okay, bring my paint back over. And I'm just going to use the same green and just paint some loose leaves. They don't have to be the exact shapes because I'm going to cut them out. I'm not going to wash my brush between because this is green. Doesn't really matter. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I might just add some And you could do fun things too, like splatter a different color on both your flowers and your leaves. That's just an idea as I'm working here. I'm not going to do that right now, but when you do yours, you could do all kinds of things. You could actually splatter green or another color behind there to make a different kind of, like a splatter flower underneath there. Just an idea. Okay, I'm going to dry my leaves and then I'll cut them out. Okay, bring my Bible back over here. Okay, the first thing, I have my leaves all here, but I'm going to decide where to put my flowers, and I'm going to glue the actual flowers down first before I put any leaves down, because obviously where my flowers go is important, and I'll need to know that first before I put the leaves on. So I don't want to cover up words over here, because especially since that's not really necessary. I don't always worry about that, but I have this whole big page, so okay. So I think I might make that go off the edge just to anchor it there. Now I'm going to start gluing them down. One. Seems to be getting clogged up. Okay. Turn that over. Right there. Okay, friends, as you can see, there was a skip in the video, but you didn't miss a whole lot. I just finished, as you can see, I finished gluing on all of the flowers, and then I glued on all of the leaves with the same glue, this liquid glue. As I said, you could use glue stick or double-sided tape, whichever glue you like to use the most. And then I took my pen. I'm just using this Sharpie pen. You can use any pen. You could also use a white pen for some of the doodles and the flowers, a white gel pen. I didn't do that because I was afraid the contrast wouldn't be strong enough here. The colors aren't extremely dark. So all I did was I outlined, I didn't, obviously it's not perfect. I didn't want it to be perfect. So I outlined the stems of each of the flowers, and I went around the leaves, and I went around the outside of each flower. And I went around a couple times, made the line a little bit wiggly on purpose. And the same thing with the leaves. So each flower stems outline. The first thing that I did was I outlined each of the flowers, all 5 flowers. Then I outlined the leaves, and then I outlined the stems, just the stems of the flowers. If you did them all, it would be way too busy. So I have an illusion of more stems, maybe even grass behind the flowers. Over here, the same thing. And then I put leaf vein lines in the leaves, and then I did doodles on the flowers. And you could do any doodles that you wanted. This is just what I chose. My other page is completely different. So I put dots and lines in each one of the flowers. Generally, they're basically the same. And then the last thing that I did was I added these horizontal lines here. They're vertical here. But I added a couple, filled in a couple of the spaces between the wiggly lines on both the flowers and the leaves on all 5 flowers, and then all of the leaves have a touch of that. And that just gives an illusion of a fold in the leaf. Sort of, just some interest. And yeah, and then I finished my page by circling the verse over here, and I neglected to tell you that when I was journaling in my Psalter, I'm journaling in Psalm 68, a Psalm of David, also another, all of the Psalms are amazing. But my favorite part of this Psalm is this last verse, "Blessed be the Lord who daily bears us up. God is our salvation." Especially encouraging during this time, but for any time, whether it's an extreme time of crisis or just a daily thing, daily life kind of time, things happening every day, the Lord bears us up daily. God is our salvation. And I just loved that. And I finished the page off by dating it, and then I put this hand in hand sticker on here. I intend to write on it over here, journal some of my thoughts, and I will do that, but I wanted to show you the part that the video skipped here. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I will help if I can.